Hello everyone. Christopher Grimm here. Green Day are my all-time favorite band, and I've decided to rank all of their studio albums worst to best. Now this is just my opinion. If you don't agree with my list, then your opinion is handled. Anyway, on with the countdown. Starting at number 13, their worst one in my opinion. Number 13 is Father of All. Ugh, must I talk about this album? I was really looking forward to this album before it came out, but what do you know, all that excitement was for nothing. This album is supposed to be a repeat of the album that's next on this list, same sound and all. The only highlights of this album in my opinion are the title track, Father of All, Oh Yeah, Fire, Ready, Aim and 2 more songs. This album gets a 1 out of 5 from me. Number 12 is Dose. Now, I thought this was their worst one before Father of All was released. This is the worst one in the trilogy in my opinion. People say that their worst song is on here, that song is called Nightlife. And I agree that is their worst song. Now, does that mean all the songs on this album are bad? No, of course not. I really enjoy songs like Lazy Bones, See You Tonight, Lady Cobra and Amy. This album isn't their worst, but not their best at the same time. My final rating for this album is 1.5 out of 5. Number 11 is Trey. This album isn't as bad as the previous two I mentioned, but it's not that good at the same time. A lot of the lyrics on this album are very well written. Songs like 99 Revolutions, 8th Avenue Serenade, Brutal Love, and The Forgotten are the best songs on this album to me. And it's not too bad of an album overall, with it being the last one to be produced by Rob Cavallo. My final rating for this album is 2 out of 5. Number 10 is 39/Smooth. I don't have a whole lot to say about this one, except that it's pretty good, for it being their debut album and all. The stuff before Dookie isn't that good in my opinion, but this album does have some memorable tunes. Some of them being, 16, I Was There, The Judge's Daughter, and At the Library. My final rating for this album is a 1.5 out of 5. Number 9 is Kerplunk. I really like this one. Very good introduction to Trey Cool on the drums. This album proves that they were getting better as songwriters. The opening track 2000 Light Years Away has to be my favorite on this album. Billy wrote that about his then-girlfriend Adrienne, who he married a few months after Dookie came out. You've also got some more fantastic tunes from this album, some of them including 80 Christie Road, who wrote Holden Caulfield, and much more. My final rating for this album is a 3 out of 5. Number 8 is Revolution Radio. I could go on about how great of an album this is. Songs like Still Breathing, Bang Bang, Bouncing Off the Wall, Too Dumb to Die, Ordinary World, and the title track prove that the band put a lot of thought into writing these songs. My final rating for this album is a 4 out of 5. Number 7 is Uno. This is the best one in the trilogy in my opinion. If you all didn't know, this album was released just 4 days after their set was cut short during their performance at the iHeartRadio Festival in Las Vegas. My favorites from this album are Let Yourself Go, Nuclear Family, Kill the DJ, Carpe Diem, Oh Love, Sweet 16, and Fell for You. My final rating for this album is a 4.5 out of 5. Number 6 is 21st Century Breakdown. Not much to say about this album, except that it's awesome. Yeah, it's that good. There are so many fantastic songs on this album. Some of them being, Know Your Enemy, Last Night on Earth, the title track, 21 Guns, Restless Heart Syndrome, Last of the American Girls, and so many more. Oh, and American Eulogy. Mike singing on that song absolutely blew me away. My final rating for this album is a 4 out of 5. Number 5 is Nimrod. Here we are in the top 5. The top 5 you all are about to see are the albums that I think Green Day did their very best on. Anyway, let's talk about Nimrod. I think they did a super job on this album. A bunch of the songs on this album talk about what becoming a man is like, and the struggles of becoming a man. I can completely relate to a bunch of the songs on this album too. I could go on and on about how fantastic this album is. There are so many awesome songs on this album. A lot of those being, The Grouch, Redundant, Uptight, Scattered, Haushinka, Hitchin', Ride, All the Time, Prosthetic Head, Walking Alone, and so many more. Not to mention, this album has the hit song Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. That song is overplayed, I know. But it's that good. And a cool fact before I give my final rating on this album. This album will be turning 25 on October 14th. I hope Green Day releases a deluxe edition of Nimrod that would include demos and songs that didn't make it onto the album. Anyhow, my final rating for this album is a 5 out of 5. Number 4 is Insomniac. This album isn't a real long one, only clocking in at 32 minutes, it's still awesome though. I think all 14 of the songs on this album rock. They wrote this album in response to being called sellouts, and being banned from the 924 Gilman Street Club in Berkeley. And boy, they sure nailed it. This album is real angry and fast. And the song 86 was written about their experience being banned from the 924 Gilman Street Club. And the song after 86 comes Panic Song. That's about how in the early days of Green Day, lead singer and guitarist Billy Joe Armstrong and bassist Mike Dirnt had panic attacks. Some of the songs on this album I really enjoy are Brain Stew and Jaded, Geek Stink Breath, Stewart and the Avenue, 86, Panic Song, Westbound Sign, and Walking Contradiction. And another song from this album I really like is Tightwad Hill. And I definitely can't forget Stuck With Me. This album just has track after track of non-stop awesomeness. My final rating for this album is a 5 out of 5. Number 3 is Dookie. This is a classic 90s album. The songs are very relatable, and very well written. I can listen to the songs on this album for hours. Some of the highlights of the album include, Basket Case, She, Having a Blast, When I Come Around, Longview, Coming Clean, Welcome to Paradise, and so many other classics. My final rating for this album is no doubt, a 5 out of 5. I would definitely give it a higher if I could, especially with an album like this. Number 2 is Warning. This one is quite different for them, but I like it though. This album was influenced by classic rock bands, like the Beatles, the Kinks, and The Who. Songs from this album that I really like include Minority, Misery, Waiting, the title track Warning, Hold On, Deadbeat Holiday, Macy's Day Parade, and a bunch of others. My final rating for this album is a 5 out of 5. Alright, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. My favorite Green Day album, which is also my favorite album in the entire world, is none other than, drum roll please. Yep, you guessed it, my favorite Green Day album, which is also my favorite album in the whole entire world, is none other than American Idiot. I could talk about this album all day, I really could. I love how the band came up with the idea to write an album centered around a character. My favorite Green Day song, which is also my favorite song, is Jesus of Suburbia. All 13 songs on this album are awesome, some of the songs being, Jesus of Suburbia, Extraordinary Girl, Letterbomb, What's Her Name, Give Me Novocaine, She's a Rebel, and Homecoming. Oh, and I can't forget the title track. I'm sure you all can guess my final rating for this album, but I'll tell you anyways. I give it a 5 out of 5. I really would go higher on rating scale if I could, I love this album that much. So there you all have it, do you agree with my list? Remember, this list is just my opinion, if you don't agree, I respect your opinion, as long as you respect mine. I'd really like to see how you rank all 13 of their studio albums. Leave your ranking in the comments. Goodbye everyone, thanks for watching, see you in the next video.